Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett. And how about that loss by the San Francisco 49ers? It was humiliating to watch the performance we saw against the Houston Texans in week number 8, dropping to 5-3 on the year and now into third place in the NFC West division. Seahawks, Rams, and Cardinals all on the bye week. San Francisco loses, thus the fall 2 spots into third place in the NFC West division. It was ugly. It was a game I would say most people would not be proud of. Defense was not good at all. The offense didn't do much for them in their favor. And what was up with the Christian McCaffrey usage? Very, very low in this one. It's certainly the ugliest game San Francisco has played probably since last season, which was equally as ugly throughout the entire 17-game schedule. But don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And let's get into San Francisco's and maybe one of the ugliest losses for any team so far in 2025. And I think the place to start in this game, because we talked pretty confidently about Niners, DeMeco Ryans, Shanahan, their matchup, how would this game look? Texans offense was not good to begin this season. Outside of one game, they are one of the worst offenses in football. They are one of the worst third down offenses in football. And it felt like that was not the Houston Texans today. It felt as if the Houston Texans may have turned a corner, or simply San Francisco played so far down to their opponent that it was abysmal. Tatum Bethune was awful in this game. The secondary was atrocious in this game. The Niners defense was letting Nick Chubb and Woody Marks, two of what had been one of the worst tandems of running the football, jump around in the backfield, find a lane to run over and over again, not make tackles. This team probably missed about 3 or 4 should have been tackles on third downs. I thought the defensive line was equally as bad. No pass rush. You saw plays where Mykel Williams, this team's #1 edge rusher, because there is no Nick Bosa, there is no Bryce Huff, thus he is your elite guy, your not elite, but your #1 guy out there. He was in coverage on one play. The plan simply did not work. The plan was simply bad. It was wrong. And there was no adjustments by Robert Saleh. Now, could it be a one-game mix-up? Sure. Could it be an erase-it type of game, play the Giants next Sunday, get a win, bounce back? I am all for that. That doesn't erase what we saw today, though, because the Texans marched into this game being 2-4, playing for their playoff lives. They came out motivated, ready to go. The offense had some juice. The defense felt like they had this game under control from the jump. Whereas San Francisco was kind of like timid. The offense was 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, maybe one big drive. In fact, special teams was the best unit for San Francisco all game. When has that been said in the last 5 to 6 years? Never is, right? This was a game that did not play like history, like the previous 7 games would say it should have been played. The Texans marched into this game on Sunday with the 23rd amount of total yards in football. Today, nearly 450 yards as an offense. Didn't expect that. The Texans, outside of their 44-point game against the Ravens, had been averaging under 17 points a game. That is 29th in football. They scored 26 today. Houston also walked in with the 31st ranked third down conversion rate of 30.6. They left today's game in what was an ugly massacre of San Francisco's offense with a 9 for 16 third down conversion rate and a 1 for 1 fourth down conversion. So that's 10 for 17. If you do 10 divided by 17, that's around 58%. But at one point in time in the third quarter of this game, the Houston Texans had a 75% third down and fourth down conversion rate. There were 4 separate third down plays where San Francisco had the Houston Texans third down and 6 and allowed them to get a first down. There was so much miscommunication. You had defensive backs running into each other. Upton Stout, another terrible game in coverage. I don't know if he should start going forward. I get it. It's a young team. You want to allow those guys to grow and don't be too, haste to bench guys. I get that. I'm all for letting young guys play, but you are now sitting in a spot where you're now in third place in your division. Things are getting kind of scary. You have the Giants next Sunday, the Rams in 2 weeks. This team is probably going to get more injured as the year goes on. You hope to get guys back like Brock Purdy and Ayuk and Pearsall. Maybe Bryce Huff comes back and is 100% again, but you're not getting Fred back. You're not getting Nick Bosa back, and the odds would say more guys will get hurt. In fact, today, Samuel Kawano limped off the field and was carted to the locker room. He probably done for a handful of weeks. Jordan Elliott did not finish the game, and D. Winters also got hurt. So the injuries are not just piling up, they're now getting worse. And your defense got exposed by what has been one of the worst offenses in football. So it was a bad day. I didn't love the idea of playing soft off-zone coverage while blitzing at the same time. Now, if you can tackle, that works. However, this was the worst tackling day by San Francisco's defense since last season. This was a reversion to what last year's defense looked like. And to a certain degree, this was Robert Saleh's worst performance of the entire year as a defensive coordinator. They've been great all season, right? Shanahan, Saleh, lockstep. Two of the best guys in football. Today, this may have been Saleh's worst performance. You can probably go back to 2020, and that team was equally as injured as this one was for San Francisco. Not a great day by any means. In fact, this defense today, I get it, no Fred Warner, no Nick Bosa. They did not get their first quarterback hit on CJ Stroud until 28 minutes into the game. And that guy, Samuel Kawano, got hurt and left the game. And this is one of the worst offensive lines in football. So you came in facing, knowing you're going up against one of the worst offenses in football, with the worst offensive line in football, an offense that can't get Stanley Field on third downs, aren't going to have Nico Collins, aren't going to have Christian Kirk, and you let them dog walk you. Now, they're at home playing for the playoff lives, fine, but you got dog walked. There was at no point in this game where I felt like San Francisco had a chance. And this was a one-score game. This is a one-score game at one point in the third quarter. Think about that. This was an 8-point game entering quarter number 4. In San Francisco, like the 8 points felt like a million. This was a terrible, terrible day. There was no adjustment of Saleh. If you're going to blitz and play soft off-zone coverage, and it doesn't work a lot of the times because everything was open over the middle for this team, then stop playing soft off-zone coverage, blitz and press some guys, blitz and get some hands on some guys. And when your defense finally did get some stops, like a 3rd and 3, Alfred Collins, who got hurt and came back in the game, bats the ball down, but your defensive backup in Stout gets called for a holding penalty, and it's a free first down for the Houston Texans. This was not just shooting yourself in the foot. This was blasting all your toes off, just biting yourself in the kneecap, and just ruining any chance you had over and over again. The defense was on the field for far too long in this game. It was disgusting. The time of possession, I kid you not, for the Houston Texans, nearly every drive for the Texans felt like it was 6 minutes, 8 minutes, 9 minutes. They started the game off, the Houston Texans did, with a drive that was starting on their own 28-yard line, lasted 16 plays, 57 yards, in 9 minutes and 39 seconds. In totality, the Houston Texans had the football for 41 minutes and 22 seconds in this game. San Francisco had it for 18 minutes and 38 seconds. This wasn't simply just, the Texans were better. This was the Niners, are getting their butt kicked, but they're also equally holding themselves back, getting in their own way. There was a play in this game because the run defense that has been so great all year was phenomenal against the Falcons a week ago in prime time on Sunday Night Football, was so bad today that they let Nick Chubb and Woody Marks Again, two guys that had done nothing all year. An offense that had been stymied all year. They had no momentum, no rhythm. Look at those guys have 28 rushing attempts and rush for a combined 18 yards, 108 yards. The Niners let Woody Marks, Nick Chubb, and CJ Stroud rush for more yards than Christian McCaffrey in this game. CMC had 25 yards. Stroud had 30, Chubb had 56, and Marks had 62. There's a play in this game, I think it was in the third quarter, where San Francisco is somehow still alive. They have a chance. And it's a Woody Marks run, I believe. It may have been Nick Chubb, but it doesn't matter. One of the running backs of the Houston Texans. He's like stuffed behind his offensive line. San Francisco's defensive line did their job. They clogged the lanes. No holes were opened up. And Tatum Bethune, who was replacing Fred Warner, had a great game against the Falcons in run defense. He is staring at the running back. He's looking at him like this, like, I see you. I see you. And there's a defensive player being blocked by an offensive lineman right in front of him. Okay? The assumption would be, okay, that running back has nowhere to go. Be patient, see where he goes, and go bring him down, right? Because you can't go get him. There's no lane to go. What does Bethune do? He rams himself into the back of his defender, knocks him over, knocks the offensive lineman over, evades a potential lane to run that was just opening up as he hit, or because he hit the defender in the back, and allows Woody Marks to go for 6 yards and a first down. Why are you hitting your own guys in the back when no one is touching the running back and he's out there dancing? He's juking and jiving. Your job is to tackle him, not tackle your own player. There were so many plays in this game where Jair Brown, Upton Stout had Stroud dead to rights in the backfield, and he just goes, whoop, one little move, and they're stutter step, and they can't get him. Jair Brown might be one of the worst blitzing safeties in football. He can't tackle anybody in the backfield. He is not fast enough to catch guys in the backfield. And if you want to blitz, awesome. Then don't play soft off-zone coverage. Make Stroud, one, have to move off of his spot, but two, give him tinier, smaller windows to throw to. Robert Saleh or Kyle Shanahan after the game was asked, was the plan to allow the Houston Texans to have these long, grueling drives? His response was no. Okay, it's fine. You'd want the team to punt 3 downs, get a 3 and out. But you playing soft off-zone coverage. You're allowing the opposing offense that doesn't have Nico Collins or Christian Kirk or really any momentum besides playing you today to get a free 5 or 6 yards every single passing attempt. Why? The game plan should have been to smother the Houston Texans. Blitzing is fine, but you have to equally smother their receivers. You can't just pressure the quarterback and say, okay, job's done, we got him. That's not how that works. That is exactly what the Los Angeles Rams did to Mac Jones early in the season. And we all said, why are the Rams playing soft off-zone coverage? You're giving Mac Jones a free 5 or 6 yards every single play. And San Francisco won that game because they could pass the football and get long, grueling drives and first downs after first downs and convert on third downs. I don't know why San Francisco decided to go to the Chris Shula soft off-zone coverage school of defensive game planning today, but that was the case. And even when they had guys, because there were plenty of times in this game, San Francisco had guys on 3rd and 10. Dalton Schultz, you stop him, you hold him to a field goal, force a punt. Mustafa has him. Instead of breaking himself down, chopping his feet, getting a body tackle, your arms around the dude, and bringing him down. He may get a couple yards pulling you forward, but you're bringing him down before the line of scrimmage. Instead, no, he goes for the big hitter. Oh, I gotta knock him out. Have to force a fumble. Gotta really punish him. You aren't allowed to be a heavy-hitting, punishing safety if you can't arm tackle somebody. On the first drive of the game, Jair Brown, 3rd and 11. Guy dead to rights, whoop, missed him because they're going for these big hits. And look, sometimes those big hits pay off, right? You want your guys playing fast and aggressive, all gas, no brakes. In this game, it was all gas and there was no brakes, but in the way of like, they're not breaking down, they're not making tackles. This was ugly. UGLY, you ain't got no alibi for what just happened. It's ugly. There is no debating as to what the game plan was because there really wasn't one. They walked in wanting to blitz, but then give up 5 free yards every single play. You can't do that. You can't do that. You're not going to win that way. Ever. Ever. But San Francisco still had a chance. And for as bad as their defense was, for as bad as their third down defense was, for as terrible as their pass rushing was, Mykel Williams, I love you. He's not a pass rusher. Not a pass rusher. And I don't know why John Lynch, whether he's posturing or not, or this plan was, we'll be fine at edge rusher. What? You lost Nick Bosa, that sucks. Freak injury, torn ACL out for the year. You lose Bryce Huff, that also stinks. Your number 2 guy. The odds are you weren't going to win many games without those 2 guys, or at least if you were, it would take a Herculean effort by your secondary and linebackers to play really good football. That's hard to do against good offenses like the Rams. The Seahawks are okay. The Colts, teams you have upcoming in the next 10 weeks or so, right? But they trotted out there Mykel Williams, Sam Okuwanu, Robert Beal Jr., Travis Gibson, and maybe William Bradley King. One of those guys got hurt, and Mykel is not a pass rusher. He's an interior pass rusher on third downs only because he has the length and strength to move guys around and wreak some havoc. But now he's your number 1 guy. But you're deprived of legitimate edge rushers that can beat tackles 1v1. They made this Texans offensive line look like a top 10 unit. There was almost no pressure on Stroud the entire day. They were picking up the stunts. This was a bad day for this edge rushing group. And I don't blame them entirely because I wasn't expecting those guys to be great. Now, Okuwanu's a fine guy. I think he's a fine depth piece. Mykel's a young rookie who notably came into the league not being a pass rusher. And now he's your number 1 guy. The expectation shouldn't be for those guys to win, but you have to help them. They're not going to get home like Bosa and Huff will. Mykel and Sam Okuwanu are like a bottom tier starting edge group in football because Mykel's playing out of position now and Samuel got hurt in the game. It's frustrating. I don't want to get too emotional because it's one game, they're 5-3, but then I think about the wins they've had this year. And look, if San Francisco gets 5 more wins, they have 9 games left, play 5 more wins, you're probably going to the playoffs. Excuse me. You're probably going to the playoffs. They can do that. You have the Panthers, Cardinals. You have some bad teams on your schedule coming up, right? Winnable games. I'm not jumping off the bandwagon. I just think there is legitimate questions on defense now. Because if you think about it, how did they win week 1? They scored 17 points, had a miraculous Brock Purdy, Jake Tunges touchdown, which was awesome to see. But Nick Bosa got the game-saving strip sack of Sam Darnold. How did they win week 2? Amongst other reasons, Bryce Huff gets a strip sack of Spencer Rattler. How'd they win week 3? Upton Stout gets a nice PBU against Zay Jones against the Cardinals. And Eddie Pinheiro scores like 16 points on field goals, right? How'd you beat the Rams? Well, your offense scored 26 points in 5 quarters, mind you. Albeit a lot of backups in there, but your defense had to have 1 goal line fumble that the odds are probably wouldn't happen again if you tried. And the other one was a 4th and 1 stop. inside your 20. It's not luck. I'm not chalking things up to luck, but Bosa's out for the year, right? Huff is out now. And now you're having your starting lineup be Alfred Collins and Jordan Elliott and Micah Williams and Samuel Kawanu. And Sam O's out now for who knows how long. It's not sustainable. And you can only overcome so much. In fact, while San Francisco's defense is really injured, I'll give them that, fine. You have a 7th round, second-year linebacker starting in place of your all-pro future Hall of Fame Mike linebacker and Fred Warner. Okay. D. Winters is a 6th round draft pick, albeit a good one, but a 6th round draft pick in year 3. Okay, that's not ideal. Now, you'll take it. They're doing fine, not today, but they've been doing fine in previous games. But how long is that sustainable? I don't know. And you're not asking D. Winters to play good next to Fred Warner. You're asking D. Winters to play good next to a 7th round, second-year linebacker who hasn't played football in the NFL more than special team snaps and one career start. How is that sustainable? You're asking now on the defensive line, Samuel Kawanu, who was someone's trash 2 years ago, who you brought in, who's played pretty well as a depth guy, now be a starter for you. Jordan Elliott having a good year, but is a rotational defensive tackle. Alfred Collins, he's having a fine season, but a rookie. Then a first-round draft pick you knew wasn't a pass rusher. And in your secondary, it's Lenore. Great, got a pick today. Awesome. Who cares now? Green's had up and down season, but overall, a nice player. Upton Stout has been the biggest roller coaster on this defense. Up and down, left and right. Which way is good? I don't freaking know. It's been kind of bad for most of it. Then you have Jair Brown, who wasn't even starting coming into the year, and you didn't trust him to start until Mustafa came back and Siegel played bad, and Mustafa's kind of in his preseason mode. Now, you can bank on the defense not being, the same as it was in week 1 to now, but the reason it's not what it was from week 1 to now is because everyone else is hurt. You're asking young guys to play above their skis, not for 1 game, not for 2 games, for a month, for the rest of the season. How is that sustainable? Now, San Francisco is not going to go winless the rest of the year, but there's legitimate concerns. Miscommunication, evading your spot in zones, not communicating with who's covering who, biting on runs, biting on the cheese. Why did a 50-yard check down or why did the check down on to Woody Marks go for 50 yards? Because Bethune bit inside, he scoots outside, boom, he's gone. You have to live and die by young players at times, but the hope was that you'd have the elite guys next to them to cover up their mistakes. And at times, that'll still happen, but now that those guys aren't coming back for the rest of the season, you're seeing those small mistakes get exposed. And I think San Francisco's defense will play more akin to in the middle of this game and the Falcons game. They'll play better than this against the bad Giants offense who lost Cam Scatterbo today, doesn't have Malik Neighbors and Jackson Dart's not playing good football. They'll play better against, worse teams. They're also probably going to get their butt handed to them by Matthew Stafford and the Rams in 2 weeks' time. The middle of the field is wide open. No one was tackling today. The run defense took not 1 step back, 7 steps back. The Niners' run defense walked in around the 12th best unit in football. Wasn't phenomenal, but it was really good, right? Much improved from last year. Allowed 157 yards on the ground. 4.4 yards per carry. Really bad. Really bad. There's so many things you can go into on defense. The lack of adjustments, this team was not put in a good position to succeed. And the positions that they were put in where they could succeed, they failed. And that is not good. And we have comments in here saying from Garrett Dale in the YouTube chat saying you can only overcome so many injuries. At some point, you don't have the horses. 100% correct. Joseph Ehrenberg says here, The injuries and lack of depth is really starting to catch up to this team. The offense has no threats either. We'll get to the offense. I promise you they will get a lot of my ire as well. Because I don't want to jump off the bandwagon, but I think it's important to be honest with how bad the team was today. Bad coaching, bad play, all the way around from every single defensive player. Not much good happened. I would bench Upton Stout for Chase Lucas against the Giants. I would be looking to find and add edge rushers. You can't add practice squad guys and expect to win games. Right now, San Francisco's playing 2 practice squad guys in Travis Gibson and Beal Jr., and they're probably going to play a third against the Giants with William Bradley King. You have to find somebody else. Now, maybe Samuel's injury isn't too bad, but, I mean, the odds are it looked pretty bad. You got to find somebody else. You're probably going to have to go out and get, your Jordan Willises of the world to help mend your depth, but you don't have bodies. The broadcast kept saying, well, another San Francisco 49er guy went down. You have to wonder, the war of attrition, how many bodies? They don't have anybody left. What was out there was the depth. What was out there was the bench guys in case somebody else went down. Now the bench guys are going down. And there was a stat on the broadcast discussing injuries because it's happening a lot. And it has been happening a lot since Shanahan took over in 2017. Now, some of the injuries are freak ones, right? They're just happenstance. Like Jerick McKinnon on a ghost cut in practice tears his ACL. Are you kidding me? Like, those are freak ones. Even Nick Bosa this year, kind of a freak injury. Things happen. They're crazy. Fred Warner's one. There are things like that you can't control, right? But the graphic said, since 2017, the San Francisco 49ers have had 2,036 games be missed by their players. 2,036, okay? I did the math because that's the most in football in that same time period, 2017 to now. We are now exiting week number 8, entering week number 9. So we're about 8.5 seasons in from 2017. In those 8.5 seasons, that is 239.5 games missed by Niner players per season. Nearly 240 games missed per season by Niners players in 8.5 years. And this season ain't even over yet. Okay? That is, if you do some more division, that is 4.5 games missed by each player of a 53-man roster. That means no matter who's on your roster, all of those guys on average are going to miss 4.5 games. That doesn't account for the season-ending injuries to Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. They're going to miss more games this year, guaranteed to. It doesn't account for D. Winter's injuries, Jordan Elliott's injuries, Samuel Kawanu's injury. It doesn't count for Purdy and Pearsall still being out, Brandon Ayuk missing time still. The odds are San Francisco will have roughly 2,100 to 2,050 games missed by players at the end of 9 seasons of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch regime. You can't win that way. Something has to change. I don't know what that thing is, whether it's the top, nutritionists and your training staff, because some things you just can't change. Some things are freak injuries, but this 2,036 games, something is in the water. Change how you practice. Change how you work these guys out. Change something. You can't have guys miss nearly 2,040 games and sit back and have the exact same training staff, which they've done. That's a problem. You can't have guys missing 240 games each season accumulative and say, we can win that way. No, you can't. Nobody could. Not a team full of the Monstars could survive what San Francisco has gone through. And they're not asking first round, second round draft picks to become stars. They're asking 7th round, second year pros to replace all pro players. And that's most of the NFL, but that's the case. Now, I can feel it. You can feel it. The division is slowly starting to slip out of their hands. The Rams are better than San Francisco. The Seahawks are at least healthier than San Francisco. Now, I'm not panicking. I think San Francisco is good enough with what they currently have, which right now isn't much, but with the hopes of getting Pearsall and Purdy and maybe Ayuk back to whatever he'll be. You have Kittle, you have Christian McCaffrey, you hopefully get some guys healthier on defense. Maybe you make a move, whatever that may be. This team can still go to the playoffs. They have won games with Kendrick Bourne and Sky Moore and MVS being their wide receivers. It's not as if today is a referendum on what they did in the past. It's just to say that the odds are they probably can't do what happened early in this year for the rest of this season. And that sucks. This was a good team, still a good team, but now they're beaten, they're broken, they're bruised, they're young, they're going to make mistakes, but they're making mistakes you can't afford to make. We talked about all offseason, coming into the year. The margin of error is razor thin. And now when your great guys are out and your elite guys are out, that margin gets thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. And it becomes thinner than the goalpost to make field goals. And now you're sitting here not knowing if Purdy's coming back in 2 weeks' time or Pearsall's coming back or whatever. You hope so, but the odds are like you have every right to feel negative. I watched this game and I said, oh my God, we're going to get boat raced by 30. And thankfully it wasn't. It was only 11, but that was not indicative of the actual how the game played out. This was a trouncing, a humiliation ritual of the San Francisco 49ers by the Houston Texans. DeMeco Ryans, like a freaking python, wrapped Shanahan's offense up and just suffocated it to death this Sunday. They could barely move the football. It took a Brian Robinson 45-yard kick return to spark the offense on top of a 15-yard face mask to even get them into the red zone. And it took a triple-covered touchdown throw to George Kittle, which was an awesome throw by Mac Jones, phenomenal throw, to actually get some points. Like, it took, threading a needle every single time. And the offense, for all the defensive woes which were there, pass rush bad, linebackers bad, run defense bad, just terrible. Terrible. Every way you look at it, terrible. The offense, though, didn't help them at all. At all. Defense getting gashed the first 3 drives. In fact, the Houston Texans scored, I believe, on their first 6 drives of the game. Field goal, touchdown, field goal, interception, that doesn't count, but touchdown, field goal. So, 5 of their first 6 drives, they scored points. San Francisco was down with the defense playing bend, don't break, 6-0. Okay? 6-0. After 2 drives by the Houston Texans. What does San Francisco do? So confusing here because the first drive wasn't great by San Francisco either, right? It was very indicative of how the game was going to go. You allow a field goal, you play bend, don't break, no big deal. Your defense on the field for nearly 10 minutes. How does your offense respond, right? Ball on your own 30-yard line, you run with Christian McCaffrey for 1 yard, and of your first 15 scripted plays, the first one gets called for illegal formation. Really? The first play of the game of a Kyle Shanahan-led offense was an illegal formation. When has that happened? That's inexcusable. That's the play you run in practice over and over again to make sure it goes right in the first 15 plays. Penalty minus 5 yards. First and 15. Texans jump off sides. Boom, back to first and 10. Then Mac Jones, who isn't mobile really at all, runs for 13 yards. Jauan Jennings locked up with the blocker, gets called for his face mask, minus 15 yards. Then it's first and 12. Then you go 3 and out, basically. The next drive, You're down 6 now. Defense plays bend, don't break again. How do you respond? First play, 8-yard run. 8-yard run. Great. When does San Francisco ever get 8 yards per carry? This is awesome. This is fantastic, right? Phenomenal. Christian McCaffrey's first non-negated touch came with 14 minutes left in the second quarter. That's how bad it was for San Francisco's offense. They had one drive in the first quarter. Not ideal. Not ideal at all. Anyways, you run for 8 yards. Okay, it's 2nd and 2. Run it again. Make the Houston Texans stop the former offensive player of the year coming off of a 100-yard game on the ground and 2 touchdowns. Make them stop you. Nope. What do? We're going to drop back 2 more times. Mac Jones, incompletion. Then we're going to, on 2nd and 2, throw a pass short of not the yards to gain, not the first down marker, the line of scrimmage, and get tackled for -1 yard. Back-to-back 3-and-outs, basically. Back-to-back boneheaded, confusing game plans. But, your defense will save you, right? Nope. Boom. Touchdown, Houston Texans. March all the way downfield. 10 plays, 82 yards in 5 minutes and 53 seconds. Okay, you're down 13-0. How does your offense respond? 3-and-out again. Again. On 3rd and 10. You throw 5 yards short of the yards to gain. I get it. Some guys aren't open. Give credit to the Houston Texans defense. They were awesome. Awesome today. Houston Texans defense, 2 thumbs up. You guys have been great all year. You were great today. But really, you need 10. You throw for 5. Does this say Kirk Cousins Vikings offense? Kind of what it felt like at times. Of just scared to throw the football on 3rd and 10, on 3rd and 2. You have to get 3 yards, 2 yards, throw for 3 yards. You need 10 yards. At least throw for 8 and give you a 4th down opportunity. Don't throw for 5. What are we doing? But you go 3-and-out. Texans again score a field goal. And then that's when Brian Robinson, the big return, an amazing throw. 2 of them really from Jones to Bourne for 18 yards and a big touchdown to Kittle. Incredible throws. Threading a needle. Incredible throws by Mac Jones. In fact, Mac Jones, I think, was the least of San Francisco's worries today. The stats won't say he was great, but I thought he was on the money for a lot of his throws. He was throwing into very small windows. He had no time to throw at all today. And it's a bigger problem, but I want to get to a super chat by Aaron from 49ers First Takes, one of the co-hosts of the Cover 3 podcast we do on Fridays as a YouTube exclusive. He says, the it just happens or happenstance attitude about the injuries is intolerable. It must be addressed. Yes, I don't know what to do about it. I don't think, like, Shanahan to me is treating the injuries like he treated special teams of, well, if I don't have to deal with it or look at it, it's not really there until it actually kills him, which you think at times you look at it and go, it's kind of killed our seasons a handful of years. Maybe I'll make some changes. They haven't. And it's frustrating and it's annoying. And I think that the nonchalant attitude towards it, yes, at least by the team itself, is like, are you trying to win? Are you trying to stay healthy? That's infuriating for a lot of reasons. But Aaron, you're right. I just like nothing's going to change now. You're middle of the year. It'll change in the offseason if it does at all. And you'd think it would have changed after 2020. Didn't happen. Didn't happen after last year. So the odds are probably not going to change much, unfortunately. So I wouldn't say get used to it, but we're here. And it's happening over and over again. So kind of got to tip your cap and say, let's see how the rest of the year rides. Let's see. Back to the offensive line, the offense itself. I thought the offensive line, Colton McKivitz, who's having a fairly good season. I think fans don't like him, but he's been probably their best, most consistent offensive lineman this year throughout the first 7 games of the season. What we saw today, Will Anderson made him his whipping boy. Like, that was one of the worst performances I've seen from an offensive tackle in years. And I'll say years in San Francisco because there's been worse ones in football, but my goodness, every single freaking play, Will Anderson had Colton McKivitz either on skates. There were so many plays where McKivitz gets into his drop and Anderson's already by him. And I get it, McKivitz isn't a top 5 guy in football at right tackle, but Anderson, to his own credit, is right now, according to PFF, he has the highest pass rush win rate in football. We knew that coming into today, that the Texans had the 2 best guys in football, number 1 and number 4, Anderson and Hunter, right? And so like you knew it was going to be a big test. But Colton McKivitz, dude, it was like I was watching Blades of Glory, brother. You were out there like sliding around, slipping around. He was turned around for half the time. It was a terrible game from him. I would not be shocked to see Will Anderson's pass rush win rate up above 40%, if not more, in this game. It was just every play blown up, just like you knew it was happening. Mac Jones probably had about 2 seconds to throw. Guys weren't getting open downfield, which you expect because Jauan Jennings has broken ribs, a bad shoulder, a bad ankle. Other guys just are not, route running wide receivers. It's Kendrick Bourne and Sky Moore and guys like that. It's just, and the offense primarily is between the numbers. It's all kind of condensed, and Mac Jones made some big throws down the football field in this game. He had an amazing throw on 3rd and 17 to Jauan Jennings for a massive first down. A great catch by Jauan, a phenomenal throw by Mac Jones. I'll give credit to Trent Williams, who was holding back Danielle Hunter, who was hauling ass to get inside and go get Mac Jones. He held that dude up for like 5 seconds, giving Mac Jones some times. It was a great play, it was a great play. But besides that, the offense had no juice at all. No juice. It was like the Houston Texans walked in, knew they were going to win, had the game plan, had some Spygate going on. Like they knew what was coming all the time. San Francisco's offensive line, which is a Hall of Fame left tackle that is 36 years old, a 7th round rookie, a castaway, previously injured backup center who was okay but wasn't great. Excuse me. I'm still sick. I'm sorry. Jesus. My voice and my cough were as bad as San Francisco's performance today. So there you go. That said, it's a Hall of Fame left tackle at 36, a 7th round rookie at left guard, a castaway backup, previously injured center, who is also your backup center playing. It is a 3rd round pick right guard, who's having a pretty down year for how good he was last year, and Colt McKivitz, who's been okay, but having the worst year of it or worst game of his career, it felt like today. If you're going to have your defense struggle because they're young and they're unproven, we said coming into the year, the offense has to do the heavy lifting. It ain't doing any lifting. Go to the Niners schedule. Do it yourself. Trent's 37 years old. Thank you, Jesus. I love Trent. I think Trent was pretty good today. But besides that, like, it's a problem. But go to San Francisco's games played so far. Again, young defense. Even if San Francisco's defense was healthy, still a young, unproven defense that is going to have the offense carry them. We learned early that the defense had some more juice than we thought, okay? But San Francisco's offense still has never truly played their part this year. They've had a couple of good drives, some timely scores. Awesome, it's fine. You're 5-2 coming into today, right? You've done enough to be 5-2, but now you're 5-3, and here's why. Against Seattle, 17 points. Okay, division game on the road, first game of the year. You can forgive it, right? Against the Saints, 26 points. Okay, it's pretty good. You'll take that. But against the Cardinals, division game, at home, Cardinals, kind of an iffy team, maybe one of the worst, like 2-win teams in football, but still 16 points and had to have a game-winning field goal kick to win. But okay, it's early in the year, backup quarterback. Okay, whatever. Jaguars game, 21 points. Rams game, took you 5 quarters to score 26 points. Buccaneers game on the road after the Rams game with a couple extra days of rest, 19 points against the Buccaneers team that didn't have Mike Evans and Bucky Irving and lost to Emeka Mbuka and didn't have 2 of their top cornerbacks. Falcons game, you beat them. First 2-score win of the year. Awesome. How many points you score? 20. Maybe it could have been more, but you only scored 20. And today, 15 points. That means of San Francisco's last 3 games, they have scored under 20 points twice and scored 19 or less twice as well. And their highest scoring game was 20 points. For as good as the offense has been at times, for as maybe some context matters, you don't have your starters out there, they have to do more. And in this game particularly, knowing, and we discussed, George Kittle, National Tight Ends Day, Christian McCaffrey have an amazing game against the Falcons. How do you beat the Houston Texans? We discussed, Texans love to play quarters. You can isolate their linebackers in coverage. Christian McCaffrey, who has touched the football roughly 28 to 30 times a game, has a 100 scrimmage yards per game of the last 7 games or so this year. You'd think when your defense is not playing great, but you're still in the game, your offense is kind of grind out games like this. It's not pretty, but you don't mind winning ugly if it matters if you win. I'm going to get the ball to my best player. The Bengals, who are bad, would do that with Jamar Chase. The Rams would target Puka Nacua at will. The Seahawks spammed JSN against this very same defense 6-7 days ago. What did San Francisco do with a former offensive player of the year who has been not just a good running back behind a terrible offensive line on the ground, but has been a top 5-10 receiving weapon throughout the year? So when your running game isn't working, he's still been one of the most impactful players on the field. Wouldn't that guy be the one you go to? What if I told you this? That in the game, the San Francisco 49ers had Christian McCaffrey touch the football 11 times. 11 times. Only 8 rushing attempts. The San Francisco 49ers, led by Kyle Shanahan, who have been averaging roughly 3.1 yards per carry all year, averaged 3.1 yards per carry today with Christian McCaffrey, who was the only running back on the team to touch the football, only ran the ball 8 times. Yeah, I get it. You're behind. You want to play catch up. You're down early. Okay, I'll pass the football. But I'm still going to feed Christian McCaffrey. He's who we always feed. He caught the ball 3 times for 43 yards. He was targeted 6 times. So if he were to catch those targets, he would have had a total of, 14 total touches for your best offensive player. For context, Woody Marks of the Houston Texans, who was a late round UDFA pickup, who is now starting running back for them because Joe Mixon has not played a single game, touched the football 15 times in this game. More than Christian McCaffrey, an offensive player of the year 2 years ago, who you have spammed to death the first 7 games of the season. And that ain't just it. Nick Chubb, who doesn't have much juice left, who's an older running back coming off an ACL injury 2 years ago or this year, like a guy who you wouldn't really bank on getting the football more than Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey, again, 11 touches. Nick Chubb had 17 carries and 19 total touches. CJ Stroud had just one less carry than Christian McCaffrey. Like, huh? What? What is happening? When you know you have an X factor, a guy that other teams are looking to stop. And look, the Houston Texans, I'm sure the film will tell us something more than what I'm saying here, but still, he has been unstoppable against the Seahawks, the Saints, the Cardinals, the Jaguars, the Rams, the Falcons. But the Texans, who are a great defense, but really aren't great in coverage, even if they bracket you, you still have to scheme open your best dude. Any team would do that. Any team. It is nearly inexcusable to take away or to actively not try to get the football to your best offensive player. Fans have complained for years. Why isn't George Kittle getting the football? Why? And we've all said, I don't know. At some point in this game, I was like, hey, take Kittle out of receiving and let him chip one of the edge rushers. And Kittle was good today. He had 4 catches, touchdown catch. Like, he did his job. But to not get the football into Christian McCaffrey's hands more than 11 times when the recipe for success has been 25 times. And look, this sounds weird because I have been one to say, Christian McCaffrey's touches, you'd like to limit those. You like to kind of, save some for the postseason if you get there. If there's a game to spam him, it's when you're down 16 points going into halftime. It's when you're down by 2 scores entering the third quarter. It's when you're down by 8 points in the fourth quarter. Like, and Strawberry says here, Sterling, they were guarding him. They were trying to take him away. It worked. Do you not think every other team has tried to take away Christian McCaffrey? It has never stopped. Like, it's not just, you didn't pass him the football. It's, you ran the football 8 times. When is the last time a Kyle Shanahan offense ran the football less than 10 times in a game? I know that the score dictates that, but really? Really? You are the best offensive play caller in football. And D'Amico Ryans, who's great in his own right, love D'Amico, whatever his name is, phenomenal coach, love him. He was in San Francisco when he was a player in Houston and Philadelphia. Big fan. We love Ryans. Would love him back one day if that happens to work out. But he had your number. He ran the same defense you see every single day in practice. It's the same defense that McVay runs, kind of a hybrid of, that even Robert Saleh runs. The issue is that what happens in a offense like this that has Demarcus Robinson and Jauan Jennings and Sky Moore and who else do they have on? Kendrick Bourne. They don't have the guys that can get open downfield. Thus, the entire defense compresses. The entire defense gets closer. It stacks the box. Realizes you can't beat us. They play 3 safeties out there in Houston. They realize, you're going to play into our hand? Perfect. San Francisco didn't have an answer. San Francisco did not have an answer to what the Houston Texans threw at them. The Niners should not be this hindered against what has been one of the best defenses in football. No doubt about it. I'm not saying they're not. But people in the chat are saying they were ready for Christian McCaffrey. Okay, is every team not ready for Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, and those guys still lead? Teams are always ready for the opposing team's best player. Teams are always ready for the opposing team's best defensive player. That guy usually still gets the football. It's not an excuse to just say, Christian McCaffrey, 11 touches. Every defense that's played San Francisco knows, hey, we have to stop Christian McCaffrey, and they can't. They haven't been able to. So it's like, You can't just say, they were ready for it. Every team is ready for it. It's inexcusable to not get the ball in your best player's hand when you are down in a game like this. You can't do that. It's like saying, hey, Stephen Curry, don't take the last shot when we're down by 3. No, you want the ball in your best player's hands. Now, sometimes that player's double covered, triple covered. I guarantee you, Chris McCaffrey was not double and triple covered today. That offensive line play didn't give Mac Jones a chance to throw at all. It was terrible. I don't know why they didn't go to a quick game offensively. It took them 3 quarters to finally use bootlegs and get Mac Jones out on the run to get guys open in space. Why does it take 3 quarters to do those things? And look, I don't call plays in the NFL. I'm an idiot. But every team brackets Christian McCaffrey. He still has 28 touches per game. Every team is going to guard your number 1 receiver with their best cornerback or double cover them. They're still going to get 10 targets a game. And if they don't, they're like me sitting here saying, what was the deal? Because that shouldn't happen. It is inexcusable for Christian McCaffrey to not touch the football more than 11 times in a game like this. It doesn't matter how ready they were for it. Defense of Houston probably did a great job covering him. They get kudos. I'm not saying they don't, but it just, you're Kyle Shanahan, scheme him open. It isn't that simple, I know that, but it's you have to have an answer. It's like a boxing match. It's a chess match. If I jab you, do you duck and move and hit me back? Or do you just take it and go, oh? No, you punch back. It's all about the back and forth. There was no back and forth. It was bang, 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 bang. San Francisco's like, yo, what just happened? Adrian! Wondering, what the heck? We're down 16 points that fast? Because your offense can't respond? You don't have an answer? Because your defense can't adjust? It isn't that simple, and I get that. But come on. You cannot have your best players not touch the football. Nick Chubb and Woody Marks should not get the football more than Christian McCaffrey ever. I don't care if Christian McCaffrey has 1 leg and maybe a pinky finger left. He should get the football over Woody Marks and Nick Chubb. And people saying, well, once they get healthy. I'm like, yes, the offensive line's terrible. The offensive line ain't not getting any better. You want Jake Brendel back? You want Ben Barch back? Maybe you get better than Connor Colby. That's fine, but the offensive line not getting better, really. The same unit. We knew that. Even with it fully healthy, you didn't like it, and I didn't like it. The only healthier San Francisco gets is Pearsall, Bryce Huff, maybe. We'll see when that happens. Hopefully it happens soon, but we'll see. And Brock Purdy. I'll tell you this, the most impactful player of that group, probably Bryce Huff, and then Pearsall, and then Purdy. If Brock Purdy plays this game, let's say it's a 1-for-1 swap, they don't win the game. They don't win the game at all. It's the exact same score. Maybe there is mobility for Brock. He can get around and evade some rushes, but in reality, he's still losing the game. San Francisco has to have a wide receiver that can beat man coverage, press coverage, and beat guys in soft zones. They don't have that guy. You saw them play, yes, the best defense in football. That's true. And you saw what it looks like playing the best defense in football with depth wide receivers and your best receiver that's hurt, George Kittle, who had a good game, a bad offensive line playing the best edge rushers the entire league has to offer right now, and a backup quarterback with a play caller that doesn't want to get the ball into his best player's hands. Which is just, Shanahan said it perfectly. We got our ass kicked. How do you respond? And that's the question. You got your ass kicked, San Francisco. How do you respond? You have the Giants next week at MetLife Stadium, mind you, which is a freaking haunted, just a terrible place. I am mortified for what that game has to offer San Francisco. Should they win? Yes. But after they played a game like this, I think it is okay to question the legitimacy of this defense. They didn't play a great offense today, mind you. And they looked this bad. Now, can they clean up tackling? Yes. Can they get some pass rush help? Yes, there are fixable things. There are fixable things here. But you have to actually fix those things for us to kind of adjust and say, yeah, okay, there it is. I expect better. I'm figuring they'll play better, but gotta play better. The offense cannot average 19, 20, and 15 points or score 19, 20, and 15 points and say, oh, that's enough. You're going to lose against better teams who you play in the second half. Bears weren't great, but they're good enough. Bears, Colts, Rams, Seahawks. You lose those 4 games, you got to win the 5 of the other ones. And that's the Cardinals, it's the Panthers who are hit or miss. Like, I don't want to panic. I'm not hitting the panic button. But the Niners have legitimate questions on defense and on offense that need to be answered in order for many of us, including myself, to say they're a legitimate NFC West contender. You're not getting Fred back. You're not getting Bosa back. Huff will be out for 1 to 2 more weeks if you're lucky. Samuel Kouanu is gone for who knows how long. CJ West was a healthy and active today. The depth is fleeting. And you're asking the depth of the depth to now step up. That's what last year was like, and you saw how it went. Now, you're better coached now, but it doesn't mean the outcome won't be the same if you don't play better. Young guys make mistakes. Can San Francisco play good enough and make up for those defensive mistakes on offense? The offense has to be the one to carry the load now. I do not believe in the offense right now. I don't. They're not scoring enough points. Next Sunday, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, and Dexter Lawrence. You're not going to have that much more time to throw against the Giants, who they lost today. They're reeling. They aren't a good team, but at home, things get different. They're a young team. They want to punch you in the mouth too. How do you respond? Do you take a jab and just fall over and say, that's it? Or do you fight back? I need more from San Francisco. There was some fight, but then they didn't have enough left in the tank. You need more. And the more has to come from the offense. Defense was bad. Really bad. They will likely play better, but the offense has been this way all year long. They have to find some depth at edge rusher. Maybe find a cornerback. We'll see. But the offense can't just be not feeding Christian McCaffrey, or at least just being this very simplified version. Not check down Charlie because Jones has a good arm, but it's just like you can't go 4 3-and-outs in a row and say, okay, now we'll score. Oh, we're going to score once, have one really good drive because you got the football in the opposing team's 35. Yeah, they've been better in previous weeks, but today, I think a lot of the underlying issues are bubbling up to the top and the surface, and I think they're worth questioning. The offense has not been good enough. The defense was terrible today. Which one's going to answer? Might be too many holes to address. Might be too many questions to answer, but San Francisco has to find a way. Has to. They got their ass kicked, as Shanahan said. And if you get your ass kicked, you got to get back up and keep fighting. Rocky Balboa says, it's not many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get knocked down and get back up and keep fighting, right? San Francisco got knocked down. They're 5-3. Third place in the NFC West. Do they get back up and keep fighting? Big ask. Bigly. Hopeful they'll figure it out, but it's a big question. So San Francisco humiliated today against the Houston Texans, who are now 3-4 on the season, and San Francisco is 5-3, now third place in the NFC West. Big loss, Rams, Seahawks, and Cardinals all on the bye week. What do you think of San Francisco? Are you buying or selling their playoff hopes? Is this a one-game kind of glitch, if you will, in the Matrix, or is this a sign of things to come? Tell me down below in the comments on YouTube, on the audio podcasting platforms. Leave us that 5-star review. If you want to see this Niners team play this year, go to SeatGeek.com and use our promo code 49ers Access, 49 ERS ACCESS, and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. You can also follow us on social media at 49ers_access is the X or Twitter. 49ers.access is the Instagram, as Joseph says here. Still sick. I'm sorry. Joseph says here, I thought it was going to be 31-9 Texans, riffing off of Larry Krueger saying 31-9 San Francisco. But that's all I have for you today. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. What's the opposite of a victory Monday? A losing Monday? A meticulous Monday? Who knows? Trade deadline roughly in 1 week. The clock is ticking. Will San Francisco figure things out? Stay tuned for more content. And as always, my name is Sterling Bennett. And until next time, stay faithful.